Almost a year to the day these two teams met last year in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They meet again this Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale. And joining us right now to help us preview the Green Bay Packers 3-1-1 on the season. He's been covering them for many years for ESPN. He joins us here on the Burns Gambo Show. His name is Rob Demovsky, and we welcome him back to the Burns Gambo Show. Rob, we appreciate the time. I'm Dave. This is Gambo, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Rob, should we throw the first holding penalty on a Cardinals offensive lineman against Micah Parsons right now?
You know, my feeling is that when you go tell a referee to watch for something, he doesn't help you. He actually calls it against you.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Doesn't work that way in the NBA. In the NBA, you complain about foul calls, and they give it to you. If you're a star player, a star player, you're LeBron, you're Luka. Hey, he's fouling me. You get the next 7 calls. You don't think Micah Parsons is going to get the benefit of the doubt here?
Sure doesn't seem like it. He says he's been dealing with this for the last 5 years, and it's kind of been the same. I asked we have some incredible research people at ESPN, but I asked if there's any way to, look up how many guys have been called for holding against Micah Parsons, and they said they couldn't find that. But the Packers' opponents have only been called for 6 holding penalties all year. That's the 3rd fewest in the NFL to this point.
All right, I'm going to go first series, Jonah Williams holding penalty. I'm calling my shot now. Jonah with the holding penalty on the first series. All right, I was telling my radio partner, Josh Sweat has double the amount of sacks as Micah Parsons. There's never been a more misleading stat in all of football. There's never been a more misleading stat. By all indications, Mike is having a good year, just the sack numbers aren't there.
Yeah, I believe he's leading the league in pressures. They've played 5 games. He's had 4 games with at least 5 pressures. He really is. He started hot, had a sack in the game against Detroit in week 1. But I do think he has still made an impact. The problem, guys, with their defense is it's been really good in the first, second, and even part of the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they can't stop anybody, which is why they're the only team in the league that has had a double-digit lead in every game. They're also the only team in the league that's lost to the Cleveland Browns, and they have that tie against the Cowboys, who can't seem to beat anybody of late.
Yeah, which is why I'm guessing, 3-1-1, okay, fine, decent start. Yeah. Everybody thinks Green Bay is still very much a Super Bowl contender. I would guess the level of satisfaction in that region right now with the Packers, both internally and externally, probably isn't super high because of everything that you just said. Would I guess right?
Yeah. Yeah, the eye test, sometimes means more to people than the record. And they don't quite look like the same team that really kind of steamrolled the first 2 weeks. I mean, they beat, a really good team in Detroit, and then of course you thought, well, maybe Detroit's not as good as we thought. Well, it turns out they look like they're still pretty good at 4-2. Washington has had some troubles, with injuries, but they're still a pretty good football team, and the Packers really played well against both of those teams. And then it sort of just kind of went a little bit south, and every game there's been something, and it's been something different that makes you kind of, that's a little off. Like the Cleveland game, their offense was terrible, right? Like they couldn't function. And then they've had games where special teams has been, a huge letdown for them. And this past week, they finally got the running game going this week, but really, didn't really put a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback in terms of sacks and hits and all that. So I think it's just a team that has shown they've got a lot of capabilities in a lot of different areas. But, what do they really do well all the time? And I think they're still looking for that.
Yeah. What does the defense need to do, in your opinion, to put it all together? I know they were complaining about the 40 points that Dallas scored, 21 in the second half, all the points the Bengals scored in the second half. Is it just a matter of just playing 4 good quarters?
I think it's a matter of getting some takeaways late in the game. Like, when the game goes deep, you've got to make a play, right? Like at some point, the greats that I've seen around here, individual greats and great defenses, the Clay Matthews, the Reggie Whites, the Charles Woodsons, Nick Collins, those guys always seem to come up with a turnover late in the game or a big play late in the game. This team only has 2 takeaways all year, and none of them have come in the second half of any games. There's only two other teams that doesn't have a second half takeaway. It's the Jets and the Dolphins, and both those teams stink. So like they've got to get some sort of momentum changing play in the fourth quarter or the second half. I mean, last week the Bengals came out, got the ball to start the third quarter, and they ran off like a 10-minute and 15-second drive. Like the Packers just couldn't get off the field, and it sort of just set the whole tone for the Packers' inability to make a big play to change the game. And I do think this is a defense that last year under Jeff Hafley in his first year as defensive coordinator had 31 takeaways. They have 2 right now. So I do think that's missing.
Rob Demovsky, he covers the Green Bay Packers for ESPN. He's our guest here on the Burns Gambo show. I can't believe my co-host, who loves himself some Jordan Love, left me the Jordan Love question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. How's Jordan Love been so far this year in terms of that maturation and that step into being a great one or the next great one or however it is we want to define him?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the thing we've seen this year probably that we didn't see in the past, especially not last year when he had a knee injury, he's really moving outside of the pocket and scrambling and making plays with his legs. He's also been pretty good, like moving around inside the pocket, but still staying in there to throw the ball and not just taking off. It's a fine line between, when to go and when to kind of try to hang in there and make a play with your arm. But he looks really good mobility-wise this year. I think he's really, really close to being one of those, top 8 quarterbacks. Just every once in a while, he'll make a throw that is just so far off target that you're like, well, wait, what just happened there? Like there was one in the game the other day where it was so far away from anybody that you weren't sure who he was actually throwing it to. And to me, that's the only thing that's really holding him back. Otherwise, he's played really well. He's only turned it over a couple of times, which, that was obviously the recipe that Aaron Rodgers used here so well. His arm strength is outstanding. He's a smart player. Rarely does he make a mental mistake. So I do think that he's got all the things that are right there to bring him on the cusp. He just needs to clean up a few things, and I think he'd probably be considered a top 6 or 8 quarterback in the league. Even the way he is right now, I still think he's probably a top 10 quarterback.
What have you guys done there to the football guards to get the football gods to get all these great quarterbacks? I mean, the last bad quarterback I remember was like Don Majkowski, the Magic guy.
And he wasn't even that bad. Like,
right. He was right. You guys go from Favre to Rodgers to Love. We're sitting here like. Yeah. What are we going to do when you get rid of Kyler Murray? Like, we've had John Skelton, Kevin Cobb, Max Hall, Sean King. Like, go look at the
Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Kent Graham, Dave Brown, Sam Bradford. And you guys have gone 40 years without having a bad quarterback.
I remember when, sort of toward the end of Favre's tenure here, somebody came up with a list of all the quarterbacks the Bears started, and the Packers had only started 5. And it was like, I want to say it was like 19 or 20 or 21 quarterbacks.
Right.
Like that. Don't quote me on that.
Not the Browns, but the Bears. Okay.
Yeah, there's certain franchises that can't get certain things right. Like, around here in this division, the Bears can't seem to get a quarterback right. The one thing the Packers can never seem to get right is their special teams. Like, over the years, they've had some just atrocious special teams problems. This year, they've already had two kicks blocked, a field goal and an extra point. The extra point was actually returned for a 2-point play against by the Cowboys. So, I guess if you had a choice of whether you can't get special teams right or you can't get the quarterback right, you'd take special teams.
Yes.
And live with it.
If I'm gonna have a football god on my side, I want the quarterback football god on my side. The special teams football god is not as important.
In all seriousness, though, I think the one thing that they've done is, they've taken quarterbacks earlier than they've needed quarterbacks. Now, that sometimes has, and really in both cases, rubbed the existing quarterback the wrong way. But, I remember the first question I asked Brian Gutekunst when he became the GM in 2018. I said something to the effect of, do you have to worry about, if you take a quarterback here in the next couple of years, ticking off your current quarterback? And he goes, look, my job isn't just to make this team good now. It's to make sure this team's good for the next 10, 15 years. And, I don't know that every organization could, or any other organization could do it this way, because the Packers don't have an owner, right? They're a shareholders owned team. It's a piece of paper that 5 million people have, and it's worthless, it's meaningless. It's technically a non-for-profit team, even though they make plenty of money. But what other team owner would allow you, to take a quarterback in the first round and then not play him for 3 years? I just think that it's sort of like it's a unique situation. I remember when it looked like Jordan Love was going to be good at the end of his first year as a starter, talking to a scout who said, every year or every time the Packers do this, I say, why doesn't everybody else in the league do it this way? And nobody does. And I do think it's the uniqueness of the ownership and sort of the situation here, where you can take a quarterback in the first round, or in the case of, Jordan Love, trade up to take a quarterback in the first round. Like they didn't only take him in the first round, they traded up to do it and then not play him. So, I do think it's a smart way of doing business. It's just not a way that I think everybody can do it.
Rob, we do appreciate the time very much. Safe travels. Good stuff. Thanks for the conversation, man. We look forward to catching up with you the next time the Cardinals play the Packers. Thank you.
Looking forward to some sunshine, that's for sure.
You'll get it. Rob Demovsky thank you, man, who covers the Packers for ESPN, our guest here.
How do you go 45 years without a bad quarterback? How do you do that?
It's like the Spurs going 45 years without or with a good center. And why, of all the teams he has to pick on, poor Lauren on the other side of the glass. Yeah.
Could have went Browns.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.